Rainy day, shitty day out, Smitty. But I came in, I was beaming. I was smiling. I was happy as hell. You wanna know why?
Why's that?
Shemar Stewart is in town. Visiting the Detroit Lions today.
Today.
And it's just such a perfect
I'm surprised
fit
you're not
for this team.
creeping around Allen Park.
I was. What do you think I was doing all morning?
Yeah, that's fair.
Who do you think my Buddha was? It was Shemar. He's just a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions. Like, in terms of what the style of defensive end that we want. Bigger body guy, collapse in the pocket. Like everyone's like, oh, no pass rush moves. I got to be honest, the guys we put on that edge typically are collapse in the pocket and bull rushing anyway. He's 21 years old, young enough where we could teach him just a single move. And he's got that S-tier talent where, like, that's all he really needs is a single move. We talked about it before. I don't know if it was on this show or if it was over at LNU, but Aiden Hutchinson, it's the spin move, the bull rush. That's what he's most consistent with. That's what he's bringing out the most. Like, you need just one or two moves. It's nice to have a bag in certain scenarios, but, like, guys, what's the saying? You'd rather be better at one.
It's better to be the master of one
than
the master of none.
One punch. Yeah, whatever the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying? It's better to hone in one skill. Thank you for looking up, by the way. It's going to drive me crazy. It's better to hone in on one skill than not be a master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's oftentimes better than master of one.
I'm just confused now. But
no, that I disagree with. Because that's saying that it's better to have jack of all trades.
That's the saying.
Like being than master of none.
That's not the saying I was thinking of, though.
But I'm with you. Yeah, no, master one thing and rather than being like solid at a bunch.
Yeah,
of things.
it's an MMA saying that I'm thinking about. It's like you rather train one punch and be a master at one punch than none at all punches. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing shit around.
Let's just each come up with a term right now.
All right, yeah. Everyone make one up for us now.
Rather have one stroke down.
Yeah.
There you go.
Than be gooning without a purpose.
Oh wow, you went gooning. I was thinking fishes.
No.
Yeah. Either way, I think Shemar Stewart, the S-tier athlete, and especially if you believe in the coaching the way we say we do as Lions fans, right? You say Dan Campbell's a great coach. You say Dan Campbell's going to go out there and replace this staff because he's the one that hired Aaron Glenn. He's the one that hired Ben Johnson. He's the one that brought in Coach Williams. When I got Casey Rogers, and you heard Dan Campbell call him the second best. That's kind of disrespectful. Not really. He's been forefront about it. He's transparent. Called him pretty much the second best defensive line coach in the league. Mm-hmm. When you bring a guy like this in, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a phenomenal fit for the Detroit Lions. And then let me add this too, because everyone wants to bring up the production. I think there's multiple. There's context to it. That's why I say context is key, right? So Walter Nolan, a guy that was in A&M, similar situation, very limited production, wasn't doing much. Transfers to Ole Miss, different scheme. Now he's now he's a first round pick. Like the same thing. My man Nick Scorton, Purdue, sacking the fuck out of the quarterback. 20 pounds heavier in A&M, not doing nothing. And beyond that, too, Cam Robinson, we had the same conversation with last year.
Yep.
He's a guy that's looking on the up and up. How about a former Detroit Lion? How about I give you Ezekiel Anza?
Oh.
A guy who was just a combine underwear hero. Came in first season, had like 8 sacks as a rookie. Will you teach me the football? Well, fuck yeah. You can run a 4.4 flat at 260 pounds? Yes, sir, I can. I think that's what you have in Shemar Stewart. And you're not relying on him to be your ace because you have your ace in Aiden Hutchinson. Him on one-on-one situations, I think he could dominate.
Yeah, that would be the best situation for him to come into, imaginable. Opposite Aiden Hutchinson on the team where Casey Rogers is your defensive line coach. Casey Rogers likes to use these guys in different aspects, move people around, put people in good situations, put people where they're going to have the most success. And you get a guy like that. Excuse me. That's an athletic freak. He had a perfect RAS score. Like, that is something that gets Brad's gears turning, is having a RAS score like that. So you put a guy like that, athletic freak, that needs a little bit of molding on the edge, opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, where he's going to be seeing a lot of one-on-ones, you can expect him to have success. I would love if they got Shemar Stewart.
And the other thing, too, some people saying you can't come in and play right away. I think he's one of the better run defenders in this class at the edge position.
Yep.
And then it's not necessarily getting the running back either. That's just disrupting the play, forcing the running back into the lane he's not set up the block for. And then somebody else clean it up. If you like the linebackers you got, Malcolm Rodriguez, you just re-signed Derek Burns, including Jack Campbell as well. They're going to take care of that just fine.
Yeah.
I am a happy boy with Shemar Stewart in town. I'll tell you that. A couple comments on Woodward Sports Chat. Super Bowl Cartier. Shemar would need laser beamed coaching. I don't even think that's the case. I really think he's going to.
What does he mean by that?
I think a lot of people think
Focused?
he can't play. Yeah, focused coaching.
I mean, no. I think with the rare athlete that he is, with the special athlete that he is, you put him under a guy like Casey Rogers, and you give him one-on-ones, you could expect him to win those.
Mm-hmm. And the other part of it too, right, is, and you could look at this however you want, because I understand college football, college sports are just heading that direction either way. We talked about it yesterday with Trey Donaldson and Trey Holland. Him having the commitment to stay at A&M, despite the lack of production, despite allowing him just to get after it, pin his ears back, get after the quarterback, and do all the flashy plays, stuff like that, shows a level of commitment that I think Brad and Dan respect.
Yeah.
I think they've said that about multiple guys in the past too, what they interviewed. Like, you stayed here despite your situation. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, who transferred from where's he at? Wake Forest or West?
Or Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, that's right. Yeah, from Georgia Tech to Alabama. And I think J-Mo's transferred from Ohio State to Alabama. But nonetheless, I think they have a respect for guys that are loyal to the program. That's something that's a Dan Campbell guy.
It's Dan Campbell guy, yeah, for sure. That's something that they like. They like to see guys that know their role, stay their roots, and they go in there, they started business, they're going to finish that business. I think this would be great. I mean, like I said, I'm not too much in love with any of these guys over the other one. You can kind of talk me into drafting any of those edges that'll be around there, whether you talk about James Pierce or Mikael Williams or Shemar Stewart. Yeah, I'd be like, Lions get Shemar Stewart? Awesome. Lions get James Pierce? Awesome. That's what you need bad, and I think all of these guys are going to be viable options in the NFL. It's up to Brad to decide which one he thinks is going to be the best and go get that guy.
Amen.
Did you say that we're more inclined to draft him because he stayed 3 years?
I think that makes him like a character piece
I think Brad
that they'd be
doesn't-
attracted to. I don't think he cares.
I think Brad's like, fuck it. I don't care at all.
No, for sure.
Yeah, because J-Mo went OSU, Gibbs went, transfer.
Yeah.
Sewell sat out a year.
That's what I was saying about Gibbs and whoever J-Mo as well. I mentioned that.
I feel like Laporta could have transferred because he wasn't getting any usage.
He stayed.
Yeah, he stayed.
But I'm saying in terms of just identifying a character trait, because
That's
we're not
definitely
able
something
to.
they look at.
Yeah, they care about that stuff, and we aren't able. Like, we could watch the film all day.
It's not a deal breaker.
We don't know these guys personally, but a tell that this guy's a loyal guy is a situation like that, and I think that makes them character-wise in their category.
They're very loyal to their guys, and they like that loyalty and reciprocation. So, I don't think it's a deal breaker, but I think that's something they look at for sure.
And he's in town for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Nick, you hating over there? You don't come. I can't get you in the church
Of
of
course, Nick
Shemar
doesn't
Stewart.
like him. He didn't have 12 sacks.
If you're sitting at 28, if you're sitting at 28, let's do it. But if you're going up, I do like to see the production with the off-the-chart athleticism.
So
you're going up, bro.
So who's your guy?
I would look at an Azaraku, a Mike Green, or even like a defensive tackle. If you're trading up, that's what I would look at. But if you're sitting at 28, Shemar Stewart, if it's more of like, I know you say maybe not a project, but him having all the traits I love.
Yeah.
If he can hit that big upside, it's worth the swing in my eyes for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're taking the big upside swing and like trading up, I want to match that with the production.
But you didn't learn anything from Cam Robinson last year?
Cam Robinson,
Penn State, yeah. Chop Robinson, I'm sorry.
What did he end up with?
8?
Yeah, he had.
I could be wrong. And beyond that, too, former Detroit Lion, Nick, Ezekiel Ansah. Very inexperienced in the game of football. Had
6
little
sacks.
to none 6 sacks.
Yeah, he had 4.5 sacks his last year at BYU with 13 TFLs. That was Ziggy Ansah. Chop Robinson had 4 sacks. Those are, more than the 1.5 that Stewart had.
Different schemes, different systems. I mean, BYU, who were they really playing anyway?
Back then, too. I don't fucking know.
But
Definitely not the Big 12 talent.
Guys that come in limited. And I think, again, like the numbers, I've never been a big numbers guy. I'm more of the tape. Like, what are you doing across from Will Campbell? What are you doing across from these SEC tackles you're playing? And a lot of times I'll admit, like, he doesn't have a lot of moves. But what you see is this insane get-off. And then he's just upping their grill, chest to chest, titty on titty, and just fucking driving a guy in the dirt or just disrupting the play, fucking everything up. And I think, again, talked about Aiden Hutchinson lining out wide. that's the perfect setup for him. In terms of Azaraku, you mentioned, and Mike Green, I would say this about them. Both undersized for what they traditionally like that we learned about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. You have to think Mike Green, there may be a little bit of character questions. I know they're still getting mock draft a little bit high, but like he was originally at Virginia before Marshall. Left Virginia because of some accusations.
Went to Rand University.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I thought Marshall was pretty sweet because of the movie, and then they also had Randy Moss. Like,
they just take anybody.
They just take anybody.
Pause.
And then Azaraku, similar situation. He's like 6'2", 240, 237.
A man can dream.
I know, but I mean, I'm just being realistic. Same thing with free agency. If you guys you set the proper expectations so you won't be disappointed. They're not going to draft these smaller guys. On top of the fact that a lot of these smaller guys might not make it to you.
They did sit down with Josiah Stewart, though. They brought him in.
Yeah, but I think he could play Sam. I can see him moving to linebacker.
He would play Sam.
And his tape is also just nuts.
Yeah.
Like, he is actually really good. That was fun tape to watch. Yeah.